Oh man, we got a lot to discuss today. It is a wonderful Monday. Appreciate anyone who is tuning in, whether you are live on Twitter, YouTube, or you're watching the clips and videos after the fact on YouTube. Appreciate you as always. So let's get started. Listen, I don't want to brag, and I will later, but one of my takes that have aged really, really well is Matthew Stafford is a top five quarterback. I remember when I said this, and I got a lot of pushback, specifically by people on this network. Whoa, you can't have him that high. Joe Burrow's better. Obviously, the big three are better. And even at the end of last season, when I said this, Jalen Hurts was getting a lot of consideration. Jaden Daniels was getting a lot of consideration. That's a top five quarterback. And the Rams right now, it's really hard to find a weakness with. And I had the Rams as my Super Bowl team representing the NFC. I obviously had the Ravens representing the AFC. And so far, looks pretty good. Again, not here to brag. I'll do it at the start of the second hour. We'll do hard right, hard left. But what the Rams have right now is the formula to win. Like, they know how to do it. They're excellently coached on both offense and defense. Stafford, yes, is 30-2 probably unsustainable. Yeah, he's going to throw a couple more interceptions. He's not going to be this efficient. But Puka understands this offense, was on a record-setting pace before he got hurt. Devontae Adams understands this offense. He can just score touchdowns whenever he feels like it, apparently. The running game works. Stafford is accurate. The defense, even though they don't get, I heard Sean McVay last week on an interview say, you know what, numbers, to hell with them. They got 4 picks last week, no sacks. He's like, if you truly are getting pressure, you can feel it, even if it doesn't result in necessarily sacks or interceptions. The way they can disrupt offenses, the way they disrupted Sam Darnold, the way they disrupted Baker Mayfield. This team knows how to win. And remember, this is the team that gave the Eagles the most trouble last year. The Eagles, who were so dominant during that playoff run that we all thought, wow, how it's why we question the Eagles so much right now. We're wondering, like, what's wrong with the Eagles, because we saw how dominant it looked when it was all working. When Devontae Smith, A.J. Brown, the offensive line, Saquon Barkley, the defense, and they ran through Washington and destroyed the Chiefs. Like, we're like, oh my gosh, this is one of the greatest teams ever. The one team who they were a play away from getting in position to tie the game was the game they played against the Rams. This team, you don't feel like, even though we would think should be a more finesse team because of Stafford and McVay, they run the ball extremely well. Stafford still has the kind of arm talent that even at 37, you don't fear him if he does potentially have to go on the road. Again, this is my Super Bowl team, and the reality is they can just do a little bit of everything. And that's what you need in the NFL. Because some days, certain things aren't going to work. They could win a shootout. They can win a defensive game. Stafford obviously can win the game for you. They can run the ball. They are so well coached. Everything is just working, and it's working fantastic. That right now deserves to be your, will they end there? Up for debate. But that right now is your best team in the NFL. That right now is your, if you had to do power rankings, not to be cliche, but that should be your number one. And if that's not your number one right now, you're just trying to be against the grain or say something outlandish. That's the best team in football right now. Moving on to a team that's been that for many years, the Kansas City Chiefs. And here's the thing. The Chiefs are, I was so ready to come in here because I tweeted out a few weeks ago. Again, we'll get to the hard right, hard left. When I'm wrong, I'm wrong. I said the Chiefs are going to lose 3 straight games, and that was the Bills, Broncos, and Colts. They went 1-2. So I was wrong, objectively. Now, did they want to go 1-2 in that stretch? No. But the Chiefs beat the Colts. I'm not, and I've been very, very hesitant to say, oh, the dynasty's over, the Chiefs aren't any good anymore. Last year, I thought it was honestly worse. Like, I think this team, objectively, despite the record, is better than last year's team. But with that being said, I think yesterday was still more of a referendum on the Colts than it was the Chiefs. Listen, I have tried to change my feelings on Daniel Jones. I have tried to say, hey, you know what? Maybe I need to break away from the Daniel Jones bias that I've had for years. But honestly, yesterday was a big reason why I just don't feel like I can do it. And it's not Tuesday, otherwise I'm going to talk a lot about Denver and the way that some of these wins lately have now, how teams that played the Broncos, how they look the week after, and how they've looked in these last couple of weeks. But that was bad for the Colts, man, who believe 100% in Daniel Jones. I mean, they trade for Sauce Gardner, trade away multiple first-round picks. They've obviously had this great offensive season. But Daniel Jones, when it was time to be the guy in a big game, looked like New York Daniel Jones. Now, he is better than New York Daniel Jones, but he looked like Daniel Jones. It looked like in the fourth quarter, and Patrick struggled in the second and third quarter. The Colts were up 20-9 and recovered a fumble. Like, this was just, the game was there for the Colts to have. And the Chiefs just took it from them. Like, how do you explain that? The Chiefs just took it from them. That's a really rough look for Daniel Jones and the Colts. To be in that position, to have that much of a stranglehold over the game, and you need your quarterback to be the guy in the late stages of the game when you got to make a play, when it's more than just scheming somebody open, when you got to be the guy, it looked bad. Now, to the Chiefs part, real quick, I'm still not convinced this team, I think this team could lose to the Cowboys this week on Thursday. And then you go to 6-6, and I think you're right back into season is on life support. Because right now, what the Chiefs are doing, these last two games, they're 1-1 in them, but they are asking a lot of Chris Jones, a lot of Travis Kelce, and obviously a lot of Mahomes and Reed. Mahomes, flat out, the last two games, has only played about a quarter and a half of good football. Something just seems off. The deep ball seems off. Something that he was historically great at for the beginning of his career and all throughout his career just feels like not quite the weapon that it used to be. And he's struggling right now. Just objectively, there's no way around it. Rashee Rice has played really well, but the two older guys, Kelce and Jones, I don't think Chris Jones I don't know if he has another stretch where he can do this week in, week out again. He just objectively the last 2 years has not shown that. And D tackles don't exactly, he can have moments and he can have games. And these last two games, he's been great. No doubt about it. Chris Jones has been absolutely fantastic these last two games. That being said, this is going to take a lot out of him. And this is going to take a really Herculean type of effort for him to continue to do this. And I'm just not sure if he can. So, again, I think this is more of a referendum on the Colts. But if the Chiefs are going to be relying on Chris Jones, Travis Kelce because their theory was that this team works, that if they can get to the playoffs and then just have a couple great games by their all-time legendary players, if Chris Jones has to play 6-7 games in a row of the former Chris Jones, A, I don't know if he can do it. B, then what's he going to look like come playoff time? So my opinion of the Chiefs hasn't really changed. I think there's still going to be a struggle for them. But they did win the game. Congrats to them. I feel like more of a referendum on the... I mean, if you want to be a part of one of the coolest, most unique communities, don't forget to like and subscribe.